Hello everyone, welcome to the tutorial on the C programming language. This is our sixth lecture in which we will discuss about the various steps for a problem solving through a programming language. So before writing any program, we should follow some sequence of the steps. That is as similar as before preparing a food, you need to follow the steps. So this is the outline of our module. First we will see the problem solving using a computer, how we can solve a problem using a computer. Then there are different stages that is helpful to solve a particular problem, like a problem analysis, algorithm development, flowchart, coding, compilation and execution, debugging and testing, and documentation. We will see each and every topic that is displayed over here in a detail with the example. Okay, so let's start with the problem solving using a computer. As we know that there are a number of the problems in our daily life. Suppose we want to calculate the simple interest, then we want to prepare a mark sheet. So there are lots of problems that can be solved using a computer. As all of we know that computer is a dumb machine. So whatever instructions you are giving to a computer, it will follow the instructions and give you an output. That means if you are giving something wrong as an instruction, then you will not get the proper output. So a computer cannot do anything alone without a software. That is nothing but a program. That means suppose you want to calculate the simple interest. So you are using a calculator. That is an inbuilt software that is already installed to our program. So without calculator, you cannot calculate the interest. A software is nothing but a set of a program written to solve a particular problem. Software is a set of the instruction on the basis of which computer gives you output as well as the result. So if your instructions are not correct, then the computer give a wrong result. That means just writing code is not sufficient to solve a particular problem. Program must be planned before coding in any computer programming language. There are many activities to be done before and after writing a code that we will discuss later in our video, that is steps in a problem solving. There are 7 different steps that you should follow for writing a program to solve problems. First one is the problem analysis, then the algorithm development, then draw a flowchart, then write a code for that your algorithm, compile your code and then execute your program, then debug and test your program, and at the end prepare the documentation of your program. Okay, so now let's discuss each step one by one with the example. First start with the problem analysis. Problem analysis is nothing but the process of becoming familiar with the problem. As soon as you are not familiar with the problem, as soon as you are not understand the particular problem, you are not able to solve the problem. So before solving a problem, you need to analyze and understand it. If the user's requirement cannot be fulfilled without clear understanding of his or her problem in a depth. Let's take one example. Suppose you are creating a software for a banking. So you must have to understand that the banking functionality is required to develop the banking software. The second step is the algorithm development that we had already discussed. The algorithm is nothing but the step-by-step description of the method to solve a particular problem. Algorithm is an effective procedure for solving a problem in a finite number of the steps. Developing an algorithm is a step of the program design. We had already discussed in our previous lecture how to write the algorithm. So let's discuss about the third step. So our third step is to draw a flowchart. That also we had discussed in our previous example. So flowchart is nothing but the graphical representation of your algorithm using a standard symbols that will include a set of the various standard steps boxes that are interconnected by a flow lines. Flow lines have an arrow that will represent the direction as a up, down, left, right, etc. The activities are written within a box in an English language, and this will be a communicate between the programmer and business person. So the next step is a coding. Coding is nothing but transforming the step-by-step representation of our problem into a particular programming statement. So the process of transforming the program logic design into a computer programming language is known as a coding. the act of transforming an operation in each box of the flowchart in terms of the statement of the program. So the code written using a programming language is also known as a source code. So coding is not only a task to be done to solve a particular problem using a computer. Our next step is a compilation and execution. Let's talk about the compilation. As we had discussed in a previous language that computer only understands the machine language, but we are writing our program in a high level language. So we need one translator that translates our high level program into a machine readable form. This translator is a software that is known as a compiler. So process of changing a high level language into a machine level language is done by a software that is known as the compiler. So compilation process tests the program whether it contains a syntax error or not. Syntax error is nothing but the grammatical error that will be available in any particular programming language. If there are some syntax error, then compiler cannot compile the code. That means once you have to solve all the error that will be displayed by a compiler to execute your program. Once you successfully compile your code, you will get one object file that you need to execute to get your output. So once the compilation is completed, the program is linked with the other object programs and needed for executions, thereby resulting in a binary program, and then the program is loaded to your memory for the purpose of execution, and finally it is executed. The program may be asked user for an input, and according to an input it will generate the output after processing the input data, and it will display your result as an output. So our next step is a debugging and testing. Debugging is a discovery and correction of the programming errors. That is nothing but some errors may remain in a program because the designer or programmer might have never thought about the particular case. Let's take one example. Suppose you are creating a calculator in which you are adding a 4 functionality: addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Now suppose you are getting a 2 number from the user and dividing these 2 number, and you are giving the result as a output. But suppose user are giving a one number is like a 5 and another number like a 0. That means you are dividing your number by a 0. It will give you a exception, that means a infinite. So this type of the case can also be handled by a programmer. So this error we need to debug our program. So next let's discuss about the test. Testing is nothing but your program should be worked properly for all the input test cases. Testing ensures that the program performs correctly the required task. Verification ensures that the program does what the programmer intends to do it. Validate also ensures that the program produces the correct result for a set of the test data. Test data are supplied to a program and output is observed. If your expected output is given without any error, that means your program is successfully executed. Last but most important steps of any programming language, that is the program documentation. It will help to those who use, maintain and extend the program in the future. Program may be difficult to understand even to a programmer who wrote that program after some days. So proper documented program will be useful and efficient in a debugging, testing, maintenance and redesign the process. Mainly there are two types of the documentation. One is the programmer's documentation, that is your technical documentation that will be useful for a maintain, redesign and upgrade your system. That will include the data flow diagram, entity relationship diagram, algorithm, flowchart, etc. And another is a user documentation, that is known as the user manual, that support a user of a program and will instruct a user how to install that particular program and how you can use that program. So in this lecture we have discussed the various steps that we have to follow to solve a particular problem. In later on in the next lecture we will start with the C programming language. Thank you.